Senator Roberts, you have the call.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for appearing here today. My questions go to the Chinese contact point in Sydney. Is there a Chinese Communist Party supported contact point in Sydney?
I have no idea, and questions of security intelligence, to the extent that your question might have a bearing on security intelligence, is really a matter for the Director-General.
So there's no one here who knows about that?
We're not an operational agency that collects that sort of information.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic. Thank you. This is to do with repatriation of Islamic brides and children. Has that been discussed today?
Has it been discussed
Yes.
in this committee? No.
Okay, thank you. What are the costs to Australia of bringing these women and children to Australia?
Well, it presumes that an activity of that nature is on foot. The Prime Minister said earlier today that, as far as he was concerned, this relates to matters that he'll take advice on from security agencies, and that's the practice that I will follow as well. There is nothing that I can usefully lay before this committee at the moment.
Mr Pizzullo, my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, my understanding is that the Australian today reported, or yesterday reported, that they're flying home.
I've seen similar reports. I just have no comment on that.
Okay. Can you tell us what security measures are to be taken to keep Australian community members safe?
Without engaging in the premise of your question that there either is or isn't a repatriation effort on foot, whether it's imminent or occurring or has occurred or will occur, I'll settle that aside. The government's made it very clear that the security of the Australian community is its highest priority in this and related fields. So we have the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, which, as you well know, is a statutory agency responsible for collecting intelligence and providing assessments on security. They work in very close partnership with the Australian Federal Police. The department has a role through the Counter-Terrorism Coordination Centre in ensuring that all the agencies have got a common picture, that legislative, regulatory and other responses are coordinated, and the Counter-Terrorism Coordinator is here present with us if he wishes to add to this, to my question, to my answer rather. And of course, through our processes, be it ASIO-led or AFP-led, or in more typically the case jointly led, state and territory police and other bodies are also seized of the same information. We share that information readily, and our highest priority is to keep the community safe.
Can I just double check, Mr Pizzullo, is outcome 1 the appropriate outcome?
Yes. It would fall under program
Other
1.
senators might have questions.
It would fall under program 1.2 and 1.4.
Oh, we'll get to Senator Scarr, but we.
I've got more questions, but they're all short. But if you want to jump in,
could I just briefly add?
I'm just going to continue with the order
Could I briefly
of
add one thing, just to back in what Mr Pizzullo said? I can absolutely assure the committee and the Australian public that this government will always put Australia's national security first, and that we will always seek and rely on the advice of national security professionals in making decisions regarding national security.
Thank you. Did Mr Kerford want to say something?
No, thank you, Senator.
Okay. Are any of these women currently wives or partners of terrorists?
Well, I'm not sure which women you're referring to. If you're referring
The
to media
women
reports,
that are under discussion for coming home.
My apologies. Well, again, for me to engage with the premise of your question, I have to say, yes, this operation's underway and these people are coming home. I'm not going to engage with the premise of your question. If you're referring to a media report, you referred to the Australian. If I heard you correctly.
Correct.
I have no comment on that report.
Okay. Well, these women that are the subject of the conversation, are they refugees?
The subject of which conversation?
The conversation we're having now. Forget about the premise that they're coming home, just the conversation, these women that are under consideration for being brought home.
That would presume.
Senator Roberts is just returning to the same question. I had a question in relation to the leak that's occurred, and I don't have any question in relation to operational matters. I don't want to trigger any premise. My only line of questioning is relation to the leak.
Senator Roberts, if it assists, the Secretary has said that there is some questions he's not able to answer. Do you have any questions outside of that scope in relation to this matter that you want to put?
So you can't give any operational...
No.
If you can't give any operational. My questions are all operational. Details.
I wouldn't be prepared to either confirm or deny the veracity of media reports. I'm just simply going to be silent on it. I'm not prepared, in the interests of preserving national security, to respond to answer your questions.
Well, as I see it, Chair, these are matters of security for our country, but I can understand where Mr. Pizzullo is, so perhaps Senator Scarr can continue.
I was going to hand the call to Senator Patterson next on the matters he had raised earlier.
If Senator Scarr had a follow-up to this matter,
It just seems
short.
to follow up, which
Sure.
we can tidy up.
You're
And-
eating into Senator Patterson's time. But
So Secretary Pizzullo, Senator Roberts has referred to a report in The Australian. So the first one, 3 October 2022, the report entitled Secret ASIO Mission to Save ISIS Families in Syria. I guess after it's in the newspaper, maybe it's no longer secret. Report 4 October 2022 by the same reporter Ellen Winnett, security fears won't stop return of jihadi families. October 5, 2022, same reporter, quote, Islamic State brides will be detained after arrival from Syria. And then just earlier today, same reporter in The Australian, IS families on way home to Australia. I'm not going to put to you any operational questions. I don't want you to accept any premise. My question is, clearly it's absolutely vital for Australia's national security perspective, and indeed the safety of people engaged in delicate, especially international security-related work, that the secrecy and confidentiality of their work is protected. Would you agree with that proposition?
Yes.
In those circumstances, has any investigation been commenced in relation to these newspaper reports and where the sources of those reports may have emanated from?
Senator, without the committee drawing an inference, either the positive or the negative as to the veracity of those reports, I am advised that reference has been made to the appropriate investigating authority. As to whether they've commenced an investigation, how they're going about it, that's really a matter for the Australian Federal Police. And I say that simply not to say that any of that reporting is accurate. It could be, frankly, garbage. It could be fully accurate. I'm just simply not going to comment. But when operational matters, be they intelligence collection matters, the deployment of our special forces, the deployment of other sensitive operational activities, there might be elements that are true, there might be elements that are completely misleading. The better course is for the relevant agency or department, or the most convenient one, to make a referral so that the competent investigative authority, the Australian Federal Police, can make an assessment as to whether indeed there has been a disclosure of national security information contrary to the provisions of the Criminal Code. And I think I'm right in saying that such a referral has been made.
That's correct, Secretary.
Thank you.
So, Mr Gifford, I note the Secretary asked you to just confirm that point. Who made the referral?
The referral was made by Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet.
By the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. And when was the referral made?
I'd have to take that on notice, Senator.
If you could take that on notice. And when did you become aware of the referral?
Well, again, that goes to the earlier answer I've given, Senator.
Sorry?
I will take that on notice along with the timing of the
You'll
referral.
take that on notice as well. So, Secretary, did you have any role to play, or did the Department of Home Affairs have any role to play, presumably? And I note your comments with respect to the newspaper articles, but I know you take these matters extraordinarily seriously. Did the Department of Home Affairs take any action once they saw these reports appear in the newspapers?
We collectively agreed, and the role that Mr Kefford occupies as CT coordinator allows him to engage in coordination. We collectively agreed that the referral be best done, given the seriousness, again, no inference to be drawn on factual veracity,
Noted.
but given the seriousness of the potential harm to national security, that the referring agency would be the one that Mr Kefford spoke about. So yes, we were involved in discussions about the referral. There's no point sending in 12 or 13 referrals. Better be done as a job lot.
And was the Minister of Home Affairs involved in relation to those discussions and the urgency to refer the matter?
I'm not sure whether the Minister or staff were involved. It's typically a matter undertaken by departments on behalf of their ministers, but certainly the the guidance I've received, the very clear direction from government, from the Prime Minister himself, from the Minister for Home Affairs, is that in such matters, whether or not the report itself is true, in such matters operational secrecy is to be respected and preserved at all times. And if there's a purported breach of that security, then that should be dealt with as a potential crime and therefore to be investigated by the competent authority, which is the Federal Police.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to deal with that.
I just have